Hello, everybody, and I hope you have a happy almost December, or maybe it is December, depending on when you listen to it. And yes, I do have company today. Say hi to the group. This is Penny. She insisted on getting on my lap, so we'll see how this is going to work. Anyway, and she doesn't have anything to do with whatsoever with what I'm talking about today. Um, I found myself thinking about something that I tend to do, and I thought I'd discuss that to you guys, especially at this particular time of year when we're all so terribly busy about things. And that's segmenting or sectioning out your day and actually like thinking about what you're going to do. Now, by this, I mean starting each, in a sense, new break, each new section, each whatever activity you're going to do, and actually sitting down and taking a breath and thinking about it and getting yourself focused and then going ahead and doing it. What I think most of us do is we tend to just go ahead and start our day and keep going into things, and we end up doing or not doing things until we figure out that either A, we left something out, or the day's over and we didn't do things or whatever. So, for example, when Penny and I go out for our walks in the morning, and before I walk out the door, I stop and take a deep breath, get my act together, think about it, and says, okay, we're going to have a nice, peaceful, quiet, safe walk. Just sort of like take 10 seconds, whatever it's going to take, and then go out the walk, and we have a nice, peaceful, quiet, safe walk. Then when I come back in, I think in terms of, okay, what's my transition until whatever. So what I'm suggesting is you do is before you do something, like when you get up in the morning, take 5 or 10 seconds and say, okay, this is going to be fine. My morning routine is going to work out. Things may happen, but I can work through them. Before you get into the car to drive to work, or from work to home, or to the store to take the kids to school or whatever, it's like, okay, let me think about what I'm doing. I'm going to have a good drive and everything's going to be fine. And I'm watching what I'm doing and nothing's going to go wrong or something like that. And so what you're doing in a sense is just, at least in my way of looking at it, pulling yourself together and putting your focus on whatever it is that you're trying to do. Now, for some of you, this may seem a little like woo, and I understand where some people come from, but I don't see it that way. I see it as a perfectly logical, actually cognitive kind of activity. Because to me, what you're doing is when you stop and think about what you're going to do, whether it's going to be you're getting ready to go into a meeting, or whether you're having to write a report, or you're going to go into a discussion with your kids or your boss or whatever, what you're doing is, in a sense, what I just did. Take a deep breath, think about what you're doing, focus on that activity, and just start going with it. And then, say this is going to work out. Now, in a sense, on the flip side of it, think in terms of what happens, or as an example, it's not exactly the flip side of it, but sort of like what we tend, or what people tend to do. You get up in the morning, something goes wrong. The coffee pot doesn't work. You forgot to put water in it. You forgot to put coffee in it. And you just got hot water, whatever. And then you tend to start saying something like, oh, gee, this is going to be a bad day. And then something else goes wrong. And you say, oh, this is going to be a bad day. And then you start noticing all the negative. And you lose sight of the positive. And I've talked about this before. You get what you focus on, even if you don't want it. So when you start to focus on the negative, or how things could be, you're going to go in for a boss and maybe talk about your raise, or talk about your annual evaluation, or some such thing like that, whatever it is. Or maybe you gave him or her a report, and you're going to go talk about the report. And if you come up with a negative, like, oh, this is going to be bad, they're going to trash it, they're going to tell me, you give off a negative vibe. Now think about this. How many times have you walked into a room, gone to a party, whatever, and you walked in and nobody said anything, but as soon as you walked in, you just got that sense that everybody was on edge, that there was tension, that something was wrong. Then again, you could go into another room and you got the sense that everybody was having a great old time. There was just a difference in the energy. Is that not true? Have you not seen that before? Nobody has to talk about anything. I mean, what's more memorable is when you walk into a room and you can tell that there's something wrong, and it's sort of like, I think I'm going to leave now, because you could just feel the negative energy. So what happens is when you start, let's say you're going to go in and talk about a report to your boss, or you can say you're going to go talk to your kids about something or whatever. You start out with that negative energy. You've got that negative energy in you, and I can pretty much guarantee it's not going to go well. You start out and take a deep breath and think about it and say, okay, this is going to go fine. This is going to work out. And pull yourself back into just getting yourself together and thinking a more positive thought. It's probably going to go better than you think it does. Even if you don't, let's go with the idea that you're going to have talk about a report with your boss. even if the boss isn't pleased with the report, there's a better conversation, or there's a likelihood of a better conversation about that report. Neither of you end up getting bent out of shape, and you're more likely to come away with some ideas that you can do to change the report or whatever needs to be done, instead of getting all bent out of shape and thinking, oh, he hates it, it's not going to be it. And then you start thinking negative things about the report, and whatever you're going to do is going to be a better or worse report. So time management and productivity. So if your mindset goes into an activity with a positive mindset, it's more likely to be a better outcome. Would you agree? Okay. So if you've got a better outcome, you're more likely to produce a better item. Your productivity is going to be better because you're not thinking in terms of all the negative things that could go wrong. You're focused on whatever it is you're trying to do, which is going to improve your time management, because you're not going to be spending a lot of time thinking about how lousy it is or how bad you don't want to be here, or maybe you're spending time having to redo it 47 times because you can't keep track of what's going on. And so you keep changing it, so that it's, in my experience, and I've probably been around more than most of you have, that when you start things out with a positive attitude, you're more likely to be more productive and spend less time on it, or the time you do spend on it is going to be more favorable or more enjoyable than if you go into it thinking, oh, I hate this and I don't want to do it. And so you sort of go downward from there. Does this make sense? Now think about it. You may not be able to see this in yourself as much. We tend not to be able to see these things in ourselves as much as we see it in other people. How many times have you seen something, another person or something, go into a report and think, oh, this is going to be bad, and they come out, and that's with a negative attitude, partly because their negative attitude just sort of took the spin on whatever that meaning was going to be. Again, if you think things are going to be lousy, you tend to end up coming out with something lousy. Even if things were good and you looked at things as being lousy, you're not going to see the good aspect of it. How many of you have known somebody that was going to give a presentation and went into it, and you thought the presentation was good, but the other person saw it as being lousy, and all they saw was the negative aspects of it, and you're thinking it was a great presentation? If they're thinking it's a negative presentation and they can tell you everything that went wrong with it, what's their productivity? What's their time management? What's their mindset? And what are they going to do in the activities that are coming after that? They're probably going to ruminate over what went wrong and how things could have been fixed. And they're not going to bask, if you will, in the successful presentation. And things just start to go downhill. Do you see where I'm coming from on this? So that if you start acting as if things are going to go, even if they're not going to be great, at least they're not going to be lousy. And it's probably going to be a better day. I mean, think about it. If you get into the car and say, okay, I'm with it, I'm going to pay attention to what's on the road, I'm going to see what's going on, I'm going to put off, if something went wrong, I'll deal with that later. Right now, I'm just focusing on the car and getting to work. The odds are is you're going to have a much better trip. I'm not going to say it's fantastic, but it's going to be a much better trip than if you're going to be really upset, which means you're probably going to be upset at whatever is causing you the upset, than paying attention to the road, which maybe could lead to a fender bender, or worse, as that case may be. And then you get bent out of shape because you had a bad day of traffic and you're thinking about all those people who cut you off. Then you start getting at work, and then you start your day at work because you're all upset because of the things that are just piling up, and it gets to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and rolls its way downhill. If you stop yourself, get started on the day, think, okay, my morning's going to be fine. Get into the car, think my day's going to be fine. This is going to be a good drive. When you park the car at the office or wherever you're going to go to work, say, okay, I got through here. Everything's worked. I'm going to make the best of this day. And just sort of like look at those things and it doesn't take much, 20 seconds, maybe minute, maybe if you really have to get your act together, a couple of minutes, take a few deep breaths, think about it, and put yourself into a better mindset. This is easy to do. The hard part is remembering to do it. And sometimes it's really hard to shift gears if you're really upset about something. But that's why I say take a few minutes to take a couple of deep breaths and sit down and say, okay, that's done. Because really, it's done. If you've had, say, like a bad drive, maybe you had to go on a detour or whatever, the drive is the drive. Once you get to work, work is work. It has nothing to do with the drive. There's no reason to take that negative aspect from whatever happened before and carry it on to work, because all it's going to do is give you negative vibes for work, which is going to go, again, downhill. So if you start looking at how you look at these activities and at least get yourself into a better mindset aspect of it, I'm going to argue and debate my argument to you, or my debate, or my idea for that I want you to think about, is that you're going to have a better time, and at least it's not going to be quite as negative. You probably will be more productive. And if you're more productive, it's going to save you time. If for no other reason, then you're not going to have to redo something else again, or at least do it 3 or 4 times because you messed it up the first time because you weren't in a good place. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. I hope it gave you something to think about. If you liked it or didn't like it, or want to argue about it, or some such thing like that, or if you thought it was really helpful, send a comment and let me know. So I would appreciate it. Share it with somebody if you think that they can use it, or maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. Give it to somebody else and see if they think it can explain it to you. But anyway, I hope it was useful, and we'll see you later then. Bye.